Why is it that it was that time that you said you were going to work out, you were going to work on that proposal? Why is it that it's at that very moment that you got a call from that your friend saying they need your help urgently? They didn't call you when you were watching your favorite Netflix show. It was when you sat down to say, okay, look, it's time for me to work on that proposal. Then your phone started buzzing. You are afraid to say no. You are afraid not to pick their call because of the drama that is going to ensue from that. If you are afraid to say no to somebody, if you have a friend and you find yourself in that place where you are struggling to say no to them when they present a request to you, then you have begun to enter people pleasing. Has this ever happened to you? You set out to do something, to work on your phone, on your laptop. Perhaps you are supposed to work on a proposal or on a presentation. So you got on your phone, you got on your laptop. Your presentation is about breaking bad habits, for instance. So you go get on Google, you go on the Google search bar and you type the letter B. And just before you are able to complete the rest of the sentence, Google brings up the first suggestion saying Beyonce caught cheating on Jay-Z. And you're like, what? How in the world did that happen? Let me quickly check that out. So you click on it and then you read through the story. And just as you are getting to the end of the story, the article suggests 5 other celebrities who were caught cheating on their partners. And you say, okay, let me just quickly check on that. Before you know it, it's 2 hours. You are watching a video of a dog moonwalking like Michael Jackson. Actually, I saw that video and I love that dog so much. But you're wondering where in the world did all the time go? And it's still a blank page. You've done nothing about that presentation or proposal. Or perhaps my favorite one, you set out to work out and then you are saying, okay, to get me into the mood, let me look for a cool hip-hop music to get me into the zone. So you go into your music playlist, you can't find the right song to get you into the zone. You decide to go on Spotify. Spotify is not quite doing it for you. Then you go on iTunes, you go on YouTube, and then before you know it, it's 90 minutes. You've not done anything about that workout. You say, okay, let me call it a day. Tomorrow might be a better day. Before you know it, tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month, and you've done absolutely nothing about your fitness goal that you said you were going to attend to. The truth is, we all struggle with procrastination in one form or the other. If we're going to deal with this procrastination thing, then it's very important for us to ask ourselves, why in the first place do we even procrastinate? You know that saying, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. Going back to the foundation is where it starts if we are going to deal with this thing head on so that we can be those high performers that God has created us to be. And the number one reason why we procrastinate is because of the desire to protect ourselves. Either we're trying to protect ourselves from the fear of loss, or we want to protect ourselves from pain. We're afraid of pain. Maybe we've tried something like that in the past and it didn't quite pan out as we had hoped, and we got our fingers burnt and we said, you know what, look, I'm not doing this ever again. I'm not going to touch it with a long pole. And then you've gone a long time, you are not attending to many of those things that you said you were going to attend to, and you're not becoming that high performer that God has created you to be. Number 2 reason why we procrastinate is because many times we feel insecure or unsure. So you have that proposal, you have that presentation, but you don't even know where to start. Where do I begin? I have this fantastic idea that I want to sell to this organization, but how do I even put it together? Where do I even start? And then before you know it, a long time has gone and you've not done that thing that you said you were going to do. Number 3 reason, which is very huge, is people pleasing. Why is it that it was that time that you said you were going to work out, you were going to work on that proposal? Why is it that it's at that very moment that you got a call from that your friend saying they need your help urgently? They didn't call you when you were watching your favorite Netflix show. It was when you sat down to say, okay, look, it's time for me to work on that proposal. Then your phone started buzzing. You are afraid to say no. You are afraid not to pick their call because of the drama that is going to ensue from that. If you are afraid to say no to somebody, if you have a friend and you find yourself in that place where you are struggling to say no to them when they present a request to you, then you have begun to enter people pleasing. The sign that someone is truly your friend is when you are able to say no to them and there's no drama that ensues from that. And it works both ways. You too must be in that place where you are comfortable with another person saying no to you without any drama, because you know how important it is to give your full attention to working on those things things that are very important to you. Number 4 reason why we procrastinate is the desire for approval. So we want people to approve our ideas, to approve our opinion, to approve that project that we're working on. We are looking forward to the likes, to the shares, and when they are not coming as we had hoped, we say, you know what, maybe this thing is not even important, so we shelve it off for another time. And then the final reason why we procrastinate is because we are stressed or we feel bored. You have this passion, you said you were going to write your book, you see all the authors that you love and you admire and their names just shining brightly on that New York Times best-selling list, and you have imagined, you've dreamt about it, how your name is going to be the next name on the New York Times bestsellers list. And then you go out, you set out, okay, today I'm going to start working on my book, and then everywhere is just so quiet. You were expecting to have goosebumps from working on it, and you're like, this thing is so boring, because you are already looking at the finished product. You didn't keep in mind the work you were going to have to put in to get that particular thing done, and then you end up shelving the project for another time. Another major reason why we procrastinate, and the reason why I'm outlining all these reasons for us, is because you know that saying that to be forewarned is to be forearmed. Once we can identify the roots of why we procrastinate, we can see those things for what they really are. All these things that we have talked about, they are just simply distractions, just trying to take your mind away from that thing that you know that you need to be doing. And once you are able to identify them, you see them for what they really are. So the boredom comes, but you tell yourself, I always give this example many times when I make up my mind that, okay, I'm going to write today, and I get my work station and I set out, okay, that I'm going to write. The next thing that I know, I'm dozing right there as I'm doing my writing. One thing I always do is that I imagine myself having an out-of-body experience. So I start saying to myself, that's my high performance self is saying to my other self that is dozing and feeling bored at that moment. I say, oh, Kayode, this thing is really boring, right? I say, yes. I say, you are feeling really sleepy right now, right? I say, yes. As if you know, as in this thing is so hard, this thing is so difficult. And then I say, okay, Pele, you've tried. I understand this thing is not easy at all. Okay, but you remember that the latest season of Stranger Things is out on Netflix, and I'm like, yes, that's right, the latest season is out. I say, okay, oh, that's fantastic, why not let's go watch that latest season of Stranger Things that is out on Netflix? And I'm saying, wow, great idea, let's go do that. And the next night I say, if I slap you there, you better sit down and do that work you said you were going to do. When you initially said you were going to write, you were feeling bored and you are dozing. Now that I mentioned Stranger Things, you are all of a sudden so full of energy and life. That energy and life that you just generated for Stranger Things, oh yeah, use it and do that work right now. You see it, they are just simply distractions. When you settle down that you say, okay, you want to work on that thing, and that message is coming in, you recognize it for what it really is. This thing is just a distraction. If the person didn't die before they sent you that message, that means they will still be there for you to do your thing and eventually attend to that message. Do those things that you have set out to do. Now let me just quickly say, as I round this up, that you are not going to hit the mark 100% every time. That's just the truth. We are human beings, we are not machines. It's not going to be every time that you say, okay, you recognize boredom for what it really is and you still overcome it to do that thing that you said you are going to do. The truth is, there are sometimes the boredom will hit you and you're just like, I can't deal with it. Perhaps I just need to watch something else, and then you now realize and then come back to what you need to work on. So you're not going to hit the mark every time, but I love the way James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, put it. And in case you've not read that book, please, I highly recommend you go read it. It's a beautiful and wonderful book. He puts it this way: every time you do those things, you take that step in the direction of that goal that you are working on, look at it as casting a vote. So every time you know what you are supposed to be working on and you take the step, you actually do it, you've casted a vote towards that high performer that you see yourself becoming. But every time that you take a step that you know is not moving you towards that goal that you want to really achieve, then you are casting a vote on the other side. Now here's what happens. You don't need a unanimous vote to be the high performer that God has created you to be. You only need a majority vote. So what do? Just make sure that the votes that you are casting on the other side are more than the votes pulling you away from your goal. See the distractions for what they really are, but still go ahead, do your thing and crush those goals that you have set out to crush and be that high performer that God has created you to be. Your greatness is very sure.